Good morning, St.Francis. I want to raise a controversial topic this morning. In our second Lenten course, we spoke about Jesus wanting to be spectacular. So the question I want to throw out to you and to Mishak is, would it not be good to have something spectacular in our church, in the church, in any church, that would attract the people who want the spectacular? Be it a fantastic band, be it charismatic leadership, be it whatever, to draw people in.
Indeed, you're being controversial. Good morning, folks. This is quite interesting. And yes, we can easily dismiss this by saying nah and yes, but it's not as easy as that. And we need to perhaps step back a bit and mark the timing of how this comes in. 40 days and 40 nights. Jesus is tired, he's hungry, and all sorts of things that you can think of. He was feeding them humanly and otherwise. The devil comes in. He's got a strategy, a good one for that matter. And he says this to him. Very, very tempting. Very tempting. And it comes at a time...
Am I falling for the temptation?
You know, yeah. And it's sweet. It has everything that we need at a time when it comes. Because we might be having our backs against the wall to say, we need to do this, we need to do that, so that we are seen to be out there, relevant, doing that which the world expects of us. But then again, if we take a moment and perhaps invite God in the space and while at it apply our minds, as we would say, prayerfully consider this and discern what it is about, then we may begin to see that it's not necessarily the way to go about. Yes, we might see that as very attractive, as palatable to us. Let's go for a stunt person, draw in the crowds, do this, that and the other. We are seen to be a vibrant community, we're doing this, that and that and that and that. That's the way of the competitive society, the way of the world. But is it necessarily the way of God? And would God be in that, within that, and would God be manifested in that? And that may not necessarily be the case, as we see in the response of Jesus. And Henry puts it very nicely. He was not a stuntman. He knew what he was about. He knew why he was here. He knew what he had to do. And he was not about to cut corners when it comes to that. In a previous interview, I used that saying about God doesn't call the qualified. A similar situation comes in here, or it's a similar thing, in that when we take what we have with the challenges that come our way to God, God is able to give us options that would supersede what stunts might produce and bring our way. Stunts may work for a very short time. They give us temporal gratification. But answers from God, they're eternal.
Yeah. You know, I have a son who works for Club Med, Gareth. Many of you know him. And many of you have seen his stunts. They are spectacular. When he was at Club Med, he was drawn to the trapeze, the circus trapeze. And he joined that circus team. And he performed amazing stuff. And Heatherlyn and I can claim that we have a university student who's run away and joined the circus, and we laugh about that quite often. But he was offered many promotions to beyond being part of the circus, which he turned down. And one day I asked him why he did that. And he said to me, it's because of the camaraderie amongst this small group of people that worked hard together, that stretched themselves, helped each person to go beyond where they were, and they moved around as a group. And not only did they didn't consider themselves to be an elite group, because they taught the visitors, the residents who came to Club Med, how to do their stunts and how to do trapeze and stuff. So it was that close-knit team that kept him there, not the spectacular, but the spectacular did draw him initially.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded of Acts 2, where the disciples, the early church, they didn't have a stunt man. They went about meeting in each other's homes, reading the scriptures, breaking of bread, fellowshipping together, and daily the Lord brought people and grew their numbers.
I think this is a modern day gospel.
Yeah.
If I should put it that way, for me, it connects with the gospel that we read not so long ago during Lent on one of our Sundays, where Jesus having done all these things and been seen by the disciples, having taught with authority, having healed, fed people, you name them, he has done these things. And they were like, wow, on the road to fame, this is the man and all that. Then he turns around and says to them, I must go to Jerusalem, where I will be handed over to religious authorities, Roman government. They're going to do this and that to me, which will eventually lead into the cross. And Peter says, we're not going to have that.
Yeah.
And Jesus says, to the person who not so long ago said, you are the Son of God. Who Jesus said, what you say is not revealed to you by human standards, but it comes from God. Now Jesus says to him, get behind me, Satan. They were still in that realm of spectacular. But when you get to Acts 2 church, they have transcended that.
Yes.
They've been transformed. And I think that's what happened in the case of your son. He saw this, attracted him to that, but once he was in it, the element of community superseded everything, and then they got to connect, and he learned far more than just being a stunt.
Yeah.
And if one of the Hollywood companies would come into a Warner Bros. Or so and say, we think you would be the best stuntman, come over, I don't think you would go there, because that would be about something else. And this was a close-knit community where people knew that I can trust this one, and this one can trust this one, and the sense of the same communal spirit that was there in the Acts chapter 2 church was there among them, and they relied on each other, and that's why what they were doing was blessed. Their business and what they were about, they became a bigger family than just that trapeze.
Correct.
Because it was not just about them and people coming and clapping and applauding them out at the end of the show. They invited folk in, and they showed them how to do this.
They did.
And it became a skill for them when they moved out in life.
Folks, and I think we need to acknowledge that St. Francis is a community. So many people I've spoken to have said, we don't want to leave St. Francis because of the community that's here. There are house groups that are meeting. There is a soup kitchen, which is a fellowship and a community in itself, but is making soup, and it just started again last Tuesday, making soup for homeless folk and for orphanages and so on. There's an intercessors group that pray every Thursday for folk who need prayer. There's a men's fellowship that meets at the end of a month and we have wonderful discussions and support one another. And there is so much community activity happening, which would appear to be in silos at the moment. But this is a vibrant community.
Yeah.
And we hope that through that communal action, we will attract people
Absolutely.
to join us.
Absolutely. I think at the moment we need to activate something within those silos, if I should use that. Because we went into these silos as a result of COVID.
Yes.
And for a while we struggled as to how then moving forward, how are we going to navigate this, what kind of shape are we going to take. But thanks be to God, we have learned some things and we keep on learning, and it's pretty exciting. And with what we've seen already, even as far as our youth ministries meeting Sunday evenings and Wednesdays on any other day, the ladies coming together, Bible study group, what do you call them again? The
Morning Glories.
Morning Glories.
Yeah.
Men's breakfast. And the ladies here on Tuesday, soup kitchen. It was lovely to hear those voices again.
Yes. You said they made a lot of noise.
I call it a glorious holy voice. It was. I think God was happy to hear that God's house was now noisy again, with people doing communal work for the benefit of God's people out there. And it was just lovely. We're praying on the other side. Others are doing another part of the ministry, and you hear them talking about nothing but positive stuff and things that are going to be benefiting the people of God out there. And that's how communities are. We are able to learn new things, new ways of doing things in a community, because there's that element of mutuality. The communal experience goes beyond that, and we get to be able to say to the Morning Glories, how do you do it? And they tell us.
Yeah.
Then we can do it there. Men's breakfast. How are you able to sustain this this long?
Yeah.
And the ladies have been yearning to come back in the soup kitchen, but it's been almost a year since lockdown that they couldn't. But the spirits are high, they're positive, they were here, and much as they were happy to be back and excited, they kept all these protocols. So these are the dynamics within the silos that we learn to live with. But it was wonderful to see all that happening, and it's brilliant. It's beautiful to get feedback and to see what people of God are doing within St. Francis community. Yeah. And it's something that we need to cultivate and take out there more often.
Yeah. Thank you again for listening, St. Francis. If you're feeling a bit left out, hey, pick up the phone to somebody and say, how can I get involved? Where can I get involved? There are vibrant communities within the community that are just waiting to have you join them. Thanks for listening. Thank you again,
Thanks,
Abhishek. And we will see you again soon.
Thank you. God bless.